In the world of wellness, the lines have blurred. Healing has become a product. Treatments are packaged like gadgets, sold, marketed, and upsold, often with more attention on profit than people. But what is true healing? Is it a service, a science, a spiritual alignment, or something deeper? Something that cannot be bought. Now, listeners, welcome to Cosmic Confluence. And on today's episode, with your host Sana, we are joined by Dr. Dean Howell, the pioneer behind NeuroCranial Restructuring, and also he has worked along with his co-researcher Rebecca and wellness partner, have worked with everyone from Olympic athletes to everyday patients, failed by the traditional systems. Their work challenges the quick fix culture and invites us to reimagine what it means to heal from the inside out, structurally, emotionally, and also spiritually. So, listeners, this isn't about just bones and nerves. It's about reclaiming wholeness in a world that profits from keeping us unwell. So, Dr. Dean, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you. What a wonderful introduction, by the way. I really liked it. Just
And Dr. Dean, this is such a um it's kind of enlightening because we unfortunately, it's to be a part of the system, and especially when we talk about healthcare, it really feels like an endless, a vicious circle that you get sick, you get a pill or some kind of treatment for a quick fix, and then again, it comes back, and then you are continuously, kind of trapped into that cycle. So, to understand what exactly true healing looks like, how does it work, whether it is possible or not, I think it's a way of enlightening. So, thank you so much for bringing this up. And with that, I would like to ask you, what does true healing mean to you? Especially compared to the way wellness and medical industries often sell treatment.
well, there's there's a difference in terms of how you regard your body, whether it's a machine or whether it's a manifestation of your energy fields and consciousness.
Mhm.
The more you look at it like a machine, the more that you want to be digitally interfaced, and the more that you have a treatment that addresses each little symptom that you find annoying,
Mhm.
the more you go into that realm, the less you're actually going towards true healing. If you
Mm.
if you are having problems with varicose veins in your legs, you can go in and have surgery, and they change your veins. Uh, you can use different kinds of herbs and stuff like that, and that does improve it. You can put emu oil on your legs if that's where your varicosities are.
Mhm.
But all of those treatments are dealing with the effects. And what are we going to do to stimulate the body to correct those bad veins? What we're doing at that point is we're trying to trigger their body to heal. A-
Mm.
And the healing isn't created by making the veins feel better or even look better. Where our problems are is at a different level. And it can't be pure consciousness because we have physical bodies. And it can't be only physical bodies without any spirit, because then, we're not whole, we're not intact, we have no appreciation, we have no link with God. But at the same time, the worse our bodies are operating, the worse our mind can operate.
Mm.
So when I see people and, oh, there's people I've worked with that are kind of more like schizophrenic or psychotic or something like that, that kind of mental state, not mentally healthy, and people that would normally be given psychiatric chemicals to try to control their behavior. Well,
Mhm.
I didn't want to try to just use herbs, and botanicals to try to help control their mind because it doesn't work. I mean, that approach is not dealing with where the problems are. So when I started working with their lifestyle in terms of what electrical field exposures, the quality of their water, the
Mhm.
the balance between proteins, fats, and carbohydrates because of the danger of the carbohydrates, uh, then toxic exposures like chemicals that they've been exposed to during their life, antibiotic residues that they might have from their life, vaccine residues that they've had from their life. All of those things make the body work worse, and the quality of the consciousness, I should say, the quality of the
Mhm.
consciousness is degraded by those, all of those physical problems. Similarly, the body can't heal. So instead, what we have to do as physicians and metaphysicians, as doctors that are going to try to treat all the problems, we have to get the body to change enough on its own naturally to where it has enough extra energy to fix itself. You see, that's healing. It's triggering the body to correct its problems. And that is not happening in the medical approaches of either the people that are pushing towards supplementation or the people that are doing, drugs and surgery. Like,
Mm.
when I first went into medical practice, naturopathic practice, I had a family practice. This was back in the 1980s, and
Yeah.
the famous nutrition-oriented doctors of that era were starting to really appreciate all the amazing laboratory tests that were being developed. And so they got to a point where they said, we should do an analysis and do this analysis or that analysis. And this one will tell us about our mineral state. And this one will tell about the vitamin state. And this one will tell about the state of the DNA. And so they sell the laboratory test to people, and then when they come back, they work closely between the laboratories and the natural supplement companies to where they say, "See, when you have this test result, this pill or these pills are the ones that you now need to take." So
Mhm.
that they call it functional medicine, but really what it's about is making lab tests look better while the practitioner is getting, financially comfortable. Not necessarily hugely rich, but still, that's where their income comes from, is selling you those supplements, and the supplements are designed based on lab tests, and they sell you the lab tests,
Mm.
so it becomes a business, and it doesn't get your body to the point where it triggers itself to fix itself. I mean, I was doing that in the '80s. I gave that up and switched to, uh, more radionics and homeopathy, eh,
Mhm.
along with diet, and then I worked a lot more with hands-on healing. Similar to the diet and chemical model, with hands-on healing, we need to if we wanna get you better, we have to make the treatments accumulate. And then also the quality of your skull and the symmetry of its alignment, the more and more the bones have been placed back to where it would be regarded as ideal, if we were to sketch a picture of your bones. I mean,
Mhm.
no one wants to have a crooked skull. They wanna always look like the pirate flag's skull, the straight
Yeah.
teeth and the beautiful cheekbones and the even eye sockets. but that head is the one that squeezes and pinches the brain the least, so then s you have the brain that works more and more the way it was mechanically designed. And then if you also do the biochemistry and lifestyle changes to trigger your body to start healing between those 2, you truly can transform.
Mm, that is so interesting. That is interesting, and in a way, it definitely um, kind of brings out the reality of what we call as the traditional healthcare system. Would you say, Dr. Dean, that most patients even know the difference, or at least they th- or has the marketing language in healthcare blurred it so much that we have forgotten what authentic healing looks like?
Oh, well, I don't know how much we've ever really seen it. Many people think that when I tell people that I used to practice as a naturopathic doctor, and now I practice more as a naturopathic healer, they don't discriminate between the differences, to the and the truth is that the healing is so rare, and if you look back in earlier times, it didn't occur. Sometimes people would be healed by a saint that would come and bless them or something, and that was such strong energy that even the physical body was even transformed. But doctors in the 1700s and something like that, they weren't helping people to heal, you know? I mean, think about it. George Washington lost all of his teeth because of mercury toxicity, and that also, caused his brain to go bad because, a lot of mercury in your system gives you symptoms like syphilis does, and it causes your brain, especially your brain stem, to kind of, well, rot, I guess you could say. And George Washington uh, had syphilis, and over a number of years, they kept prescribing mercury to them. And in those days, they used to use mercury like came out of the thermometer, and you would swallow it, and it would go through your system. Anyway, it made all of his teeth fall out, and that was why he had to have the famous dentures carved by Paul Revere, back in early times in the 1700s, because those th- that wasn't how you could heal them. So that was why the initial homeopathy is that sometimes with the right homeopathic remedy, you could trigger bodies to heal at least part way. So what I've been approaching for years, developing, especially for myself, you know, is how do we trigger our bodies to heal? And it turns out you have to do many things at the same time, and meditation and thinking is part of it. And your diet is part of it. And all the chemical detox that I was talking about earlier is part of it. Fixing your structure is part of it. Living in a healthy environment physically, like in your house and things, is part of it. It's not easy to achieve. You don't know anybody that's been healed, very likely.
No, for the fact I'm not aware of that.
Right. So why do doctors talk about being healers? They shouldn't.
Oh, and Dr. Dean, you mentioned about the physical structure of the skull. So your work on NCR, it works on the this physical structure of the skull and the nervous system, something most modern medicine ignores. So, why do you think our systems focus so heavily on symptom management instead of foundational repair? Is it because it's quick to, kind of get financially rewarded or something else?
Well, um, there's even been documents released within the pharmacy industry where they admitted that the reason that they were using so many vaccines now is to
Mhm.
create a generation of people who are entirely medication dependent. So, back in the 1890s, we're talking about, 135 years ago, the very first issue, the first edition of the uh, Merck Physician's Desk Reference was printed. And one of the things that they said in there was that turpentine, which is pine oil, uh,
Mhm.
uh, it was useful as sort of a cure-all because so many different kinds of conditions were helped. The second edition came out, I think, 5 years later, and by that time in, America, the 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 pine oil industry had been purchased by the big pharmacy companies, and they started releasing a product that they also called turpentine, but turpentine had a kidney toxin in it so that it couldn't be safely taken orally. And at that point, they had to say that turpentine is now a deadly poison. And the only reason that they changed that in the manual was because of the pharmacy company that was manufacturing it. So they have wanted to keep us in that realm. There was a study a couple of years ago, not very long ago now, uh, from Harvard, where they put people on to a diet with extremely low or no carbohydrates, and 94% of the people had large medical changes within 6 months. 94%. Well, do you read about it anywhere in the press?
No, no, no.
No, because it's interfering with the model. Our lifestyle is based on carbohydrates. You meet someone at work, there's carbohydrates. You go to a wedding, you go to a funeral, you see your family. Every time you do these things, you eat, and what we always focus on are carbohydrates. And carbohydrates feed the parasites, and carbohydrates also feeds the businesses. So grocery stores primarily sell carbohydrates, restaurants primarily sell carbohydrates, uh, all of, and then our healthcare is being triggered primarily because of carbohydrates. So
Mm.
it's a systemic design, and they're not going to put this information out there. You're never going to hear about this except through the underground, people like you and me. You know, it's the danger of the carbs, the addiction of the carbs, the parasites, yeast, fungus, heavy metals, and then all those chemical residues. And then you're also treating symptoms in most of the physical medicine. So when you go for a massage, occasionally massage can be done in a therapeutic manner that's accumulative in its benefits. But most of
Mhm.
the time, it just makes you feel better, and a few days later, you feel like normal again. And for the most part, many of the body workers, the chiropractors and osteopaths, they focus on getting rid of today's pain, and they usually do a very good job. But by next week, that pain has returned, or maybe a slightly different one. But the idea is that they need you to keep coming in. You know,
Mm.
that's their job. And so if you start actually getting people better and then they go on their way, what does that do to your business? I've faced this many times in my business because I accumulate the benefits for the patients when we do the NCR treatments or the newer howling treatments. These
Mhm.
benefits accumulate and the people get better and better. And if we can also convince them to make the lifestyle changes and then detox them, we might even get them to a point where they'll heal. But
Mm.
very many doctors want that.
Um, mm, yeah, obviously. There's
And they
definitely.
don't live that way themselves, you see? That's the other thing is that, you know, as you get older, your hair gets all gray and white, and the texture of the hair gets more brittle, and the skin gets thinner, and it doesn't have the same suppleness and elasticity.
Mm.
So anytime these people say, and this is, I can show you how healthy I am, and their hair is white and their skin looks all straight and tight and even those fine little wrinkles and things, the more you see of those things, the more you know that what they're talking about really doesn't work.
Mm,
When I was 60, I was over 400 pounds and
okay.
my hair was gray and white. You can see pictures of me on my website or on YouTube. Uh, and at that point, I was still working out at the gym, and I could do lots of cardio and everything, but nonetheless, I was having chronic varicose vein problems. I was having some kinds of skin problems. I was having, of course, all that extra weight and digestive tract problems. And I
Mhm.
started trying to change my diet. And what happened was that when I cut back on food, I started sleepwalking and eating in my sleep, and my dreams weren't about food.
Oh,
No,
wow.
it was the parasites running my body that walked me down the stairs through my darkened house, no lights on, really dark house, and I ended up in front of the refrigerator, and the lights woke me up. And after a couple nights of that, I realized that the parasites were running the body because I was the host, and the
Mm,
parasite, was in control. And it
mm.
could see, using my eyes, it could see in the dark better than I could. So everybody that you see that's on a diet that is controlled by their carbohydrate cravings is being run by a parasite and they're the host. So if you want to free your mind, if you want to really free your mind, you need to have somebody show you how to go on a program to kill that so that the host can take over. And after all these years, I haven't perfected that for myself, but I got to a point where I started having my body heal. See,
Mm.
and it's not because I was so healthy, 11 years ago. I wasn't. 11 years ago, I decided that I was going to change this, and I was tired of it. And it's been that long a road, and my mind has steadily worked better and better because the body
Mm,
has to be healthy for my mind to work right. And what I'm capable of
okay.
understanding and what I can remember is better and better the closer I get to healing myself. So for you, the same thing has to be true.
That is so true. That is so true. And before we wrap up, Dr. Dean, uh, some uh, it's kind of a perspective on a patient, the responsibility of the patient. Some might say that people choose quick fixes over deeper healing because it's easier, it's faster, it's less confronting, because they already have so much to deal with. So, are we as patients sometimes, you know, um, I should use the word complicit in keeping the cycle going?
Oh, absolutely. We've been programmed in so many different ways. Our upbringing, the media, what we hear from our friends and family, what we hear from the medical practitioners, they're all going to reinforce that the kind of ideas that I'm talking about are crazy. But you can also watch them get sicker and sicker and get heart problems and get cancer and all that stuff. And those are things that are reversible. And you don't do it by going on a special cancer program. You go on a program to heal. You want your heart to get better, you go on a program to heal and get your physical structure fixed as well. All of those things interlink. And none of it is going to be supported by the mainstream of our society. None of it, because we are radicals that are, in a sense, trying to change the whole fabric of society. Think about it. If you were not eating grains and starches, vegetables, and for the most part, no fruits, and milk is kind of high in sugar too, so you'd be having cream, and you could have cheeses, and you could have meats and fishes, and very limited servings of fruits and vegetables. As soon as you change that, then the main focus of where you go out with your family is going to change because they're either going to someplace that serves alcohol or someplace that focuses on serving, grains and other carbs. There's lots of potatoes and, uh, if you're in India, it's gonna be, bread, and when you're in North America, it's gonna be bread, and potatoes, and these are in themselves damaging chemicals, damaging full of bad chemicals, not just the carbs, but also anyway, we can change all of these things only when people are willing to change. So of course they are to blame, and how do we undo their programming? How do we undo that? I don't know.
I have personally struggled, especially when we are surrounded, because I've also personally went through a major weight loss transformation that was like 10 15 years back, and when I had to go out with my friends, or I had to be a part of, let's say, a wedding or a special occasion, I always had to kind of insert myself that, to others, that I don't want to consume this amount of carbohydrate. I want to have a healthy option. In India,
Right.
especially weddings,
Yeah.
sweets are like the staple. They have to be a part of the occasion. And although it's okay, it's good to kind of get yourself involved and consume sweets, but the effects are so obvious. um
Yes.
we are talking about India kind of being a diabetic capital. We are seeing obesity on the rise in young kids.
Yes.
uh, so
Well, especially since the COVID lockdown, people have been encouraged to get away from outdoor activities and staying in shape. And so the children are in horrible conditions, and then many of them are vaccinated as well, which makes them much worse. Ugh.
Mm.
Well, when you lost all that weight, you had to do it with a lot of willpower because you had your own parasites upset. That was why you would get those hunger cravings and anxiety and things about not eating. That's actually you being manipulated by the parasites inside you. So what I found is the only way that I've been able to successfully lose weight was to get my parasite population radically diminished. Once I did that, my body, in terms of what I crave and so forth, I don't have to think about it. I eat because I'm hungry now. But that took me years to get to that point. And when I was so fat, I couldn't as I said, I started sleepwalking, so really congratulations. You did it the really hard way.
it took me around 2 years, 2 years, Dr. D. If I
Yeah.
can not only losing the weight, but um, kind of sustaining it, because it's very easy to at a bigger level to say that you can reduce the amount of carbohydrates and sugars. You can do your workouts. You can have a very disciplined way when you're losing the weight, but to sustain it, that requires a greater deal of willpower.
Yes.
Fight your parasites.
Yeah. They're terrible, and see, as soon as you start eating very many carbs, you get a very dangerous hormone, insulin, secreted into your body, and not only does that push the glucose in your bloodstream into your fat cells, but it also suppresses your immune system for about 6 hours.
Mm.
And so you're talking about people that keep repeatedly getting their colds. Well, most of the time, it's their lifestyle being too high in carbohydrates, so that if you eat, carbohydrates for breakfast and carbohydrates in your mid-morning, coffee break, whatever you or tea time, and then your noon have lunch, and mid-afternoon have another snack, and dinner, and in the evening have another snack. If each time you eat around 100 calories of carbohydrate, 20 grams of carbohydrate, that's enough to trigger insulin production. So if that happens each time, then your immune system is only going to work from 2 to 6 a.m. the rest of your day, right? And so if you so then anything you're exposed to from other people that you're around, you're not going to have the ability to resist it. If instead you stop with the carbs, then your white blood cell count, so your white blood cells stay active because the insulin doesn't suppress it. Then when you see someone and they're sick, your body fights it off and it's no big deal. So it's been, I don't know, I think I've had one bronchitis that was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Other than that, I haven't been sick for about 12 years. And growing up, I had bronchitis every winter because my diet was based on lots of sugar.
Mm.
Yeah. So next time that you're around people that are sick, stop eating carbs totally. Have some eggs or some fish or some meat of some sort. Fine, but not the carbs. No rice, no wheat, no potatoes.
Great, great. So, Dr. Dean, if our listeners they would like to connect with you to explore further into this, what would be the best way?
Um, I think the link that's coming with the article is for drdeanhowell.com, drdeanhowell.com. Um, we also, and linked there, we also have uh, our church's website, cods.land. That's the easier one to type out. And then we have a website about uh, us guiding you on health programs, and that's angelreadings.live. And that also includes stuff about radionics and homeopathy. So we really do lots. So there's lots of website stuff to do, and I'm making lots of videos lately, and they're just starting to be posted once or twice a week. And so I'm really appreciative of your time. Thank you, Avia, and or Avik. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Dean. I think the word should really be out there. We have the agency. We have should have that sovereignty, not just pushing ourselves, forcing ourselves to be just keep on mindlessly being a part of the system, but to also have that because we do have the right to make choices, and choices driven by informed insights, practical insights. With that, I'll make sure to have all the links and details in the show notes, Dr. Dean. And thank you for reminding us that healing, it just isn't a treatment plan, but it's a relationship. So it's relationship between the practitioner and the patient, the body and the mind, the truth and the illusion. So thank you so much for bringing this up.
Oh, thank you for having me, Avik, and until we meet again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Dr. Dean. And with that, listeners, we wrap up this episode of Cosmic Confluence. To connect with Dr. Dean and explore his resources, just refer to the show notes. And until next time, may you choose the path that serves your wholeness, not just your convenience. Thank you.